My name is Michael A. Forman, and I help professionals network and communicate more effectively and efficiently, thus creating more profits.
You're watching Success, Motivation, and Inspiration, where we share interviews with incredible leaders who are crushing it in life and business.
Networking Unleashed, and I have a digital Networking Unleashed. Both are available.
Now, how did you get into networking as a professional? I know you had quite a few different industries that you were focused on originally, but what got you into networking?
Well, I've always been in networking, always. From the time when I was in the Air Force in my 20s, I learned how to tell somebody who was a lesser of rank than I was what to do without going there and just saying, go do this and go do that. I had to strategically say something to them or give them an order without really having to worry about it because I was in my 20s and they were in their 30s and I felt really weird. But when I came out of that, I went into my own businesses. I have pizzerias, restaurants. I had a graphic design studio. Did that for 15, 20 years, and I went to corporate America. I was a mortgage. I was in the mortgage business. I came down to Georgia when I left New York, and I wound up in a law firm as a sales director. But all in all of this is teaching me how to communicate with other people on various levels. So it really helped a lot.
Now, do you typically work with people who are introverts or extroverts, or is it both sides of the scale?
Yeah, funny you say that because every one of my talks, every time I speak, that's always a question. Well, I'm an introvert. I can't exactly follow that. My talk is usually about extroverts. I've most recently included excuse me, introverts into the whole mix of things because there's not that much difference. If you're an extrovert, you go out to the networking event, you walk up to the table, you listen, you want to hear everything before you speak. You want to do all that, but an introvert, I'm from the Air Force, so I call it my wingman. You bring somebody who knows you, knows what you do really well. And as the conversation comes around to you at that networking event and they say, uh, whatever, the discussion is, oh, you know something? Michael knows a lot about that. Michael, why don't you tell us about that? So that person really is like a buffer system between myself and the other people. And if you're an introvert, that little buffer is really all that you need.
And seeing, I've seen that in the past as well myself, where that third party validation, that third party credibility with somebody that has somebody that's introvert or doesn't, maybe it's just lack of self confidence. Not that they're that shy around other people typically, but if it's just a lack of self confidence, or maybe they don't feel like they have have something valuable to say. But when you've given them that credibility by somebody else introducing them, saying, hey, this is Michael. Man, Michael could really help you on networking. He's just phenomenal networking, networking teacher. Then it automatically, even if you don't have the credibility or if you don't have the confidence yourself, that third party credibility helps so much, huh?
The first thing you have to realize is you have to be a confident person in order to go out and network. If you're not a confident person, everybody else is going to see that right away. You don't have to say a word. They see it on your face, right? So you have to be confident. You have to stand tall. You have to keep your shoulders straight. And when you shake somebody's hand to say hello, don't do it like a dead fish, okay? Shake their hand, okay? Really shake their hand, because all of that says confidence. And you'll see that you're more than halfway there just by the way that you present yourself.
And now, how do you transform for somebody that, for myself, I absolutely love people. I love networking. I actually survived brain cancer. So I've got you'll hear I stumble over some words and have some short-term memory issue stuff. But owning retail stores and had a pharmaceutical company and quite a few different companies where I had dozens of employees working for me. But I try to teach these employees that being able to network and connect and just love people, how important that was. But it's kind of a weird thing with um, me as an owner saying you need to be able to communicate well, you need to be able to need to be able to network and communicate. And then as I'm tripping over words and stuff, what kind of advice would you give to an owner or maybe a business owner that has got employees that are, whether they're shy or whether they're just don't like people? Is that something you can teach or?
Being a former business owner myself, um, I would tell you to be a leader and not a boss. Okay. You have those bosses that just like to shout orders. Do this, do that, do this, do that. And your employees, well, they'll accept it because they have to. But if you're a leader, and there's a huge difference between a leader and a boss. And if you're a leader, you're down in the trenches with them. You're showing them. You're doing everything that they're doing. If they have a question, you're there to answer it. That you're not one of the group because you still have to keep that distinction of being the owner. But it goes much, much further when the employees are happy to come to work than if they're not. So yeah, the fact is, yes, everything can be taught, if they're willing to learn. Some, guys who own like 3 or 4 companies, they say, no, I don't want anything to do with that. I'm good. I'm the boss and I have other people to do that. Okay. So I'm not talking to those people. I'm talking about the owners that want to legitimately have their business increase because their employees are happier. And a happier employee will undoubtedly make your profits increase.
Well, and that's something too about an employee, an owner that has to have their thumb in everything. I told you about in the past owning a pharmaceutical company, a cosmetic medical laser clinic, a telecom company, owned a few retail stores myself. Had the limiting factor though, and this has been 20 years ago when I was starting to figure all this out. But by me having to be the expert at everything and having my finger in absolutely every aspect of the business, I was the limiting factor. And we had some very profitable, very successful businesses, but we were always capped because I was working 100 hours a week and could not put in more time. And it was never going to grow to something bigger until I learned to start delegating and letting these employees do what they're good at, and especially employees who are good at networking, letting them connect and
Absolutely.
continue to grow the business.
You micromanaging, you held yourself to a certain number. You can't grow because you're it. You're the guy. I don't care if you had 100 employees, you're the guy. So you have to, surround yourself with competent people that are very knowledgeable in what they do, and you delegate to what they do. But that doesn't mean that, first of all, that doesn't mean that you are involved with everything, because if your business gets big enough, you shouldn't be. Now, you couldn't be, but you shouldn't be involved with every decision because that's what you have competent people doing. But you should be able to go onto the floor and talk with them and they should be free to talk with you and say what's right, what's wrong, whatever. But one thing that I always made as an owner, I said, look, you can have a problem, but you have a company with a problem with no solution, don't come to me. Come to me with a problem and a solution, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's a huge difference. We had the same rule with our retail stores, where an employee need to come to us when there's a problem, come to me with at least 2 or 3 solutions, where say, okay, these are the things that I think could fix it. And you figure out pretty quick the employees that, well, this sucks, that, this isn't working. What's your solution? If they could not come up with something, at least some kind of an idea, even if it wasn't a great idea, that employee was never going to be a beneficial member of the team. The ones that would come up with, here's the 2 or 3 best solutions. And I'd say, okay, what would you do if you owned the company? Well, I think I would do this. Cool. Do it. You're in charge. And pretty soon you'd get those employees where that freed up my time so much to be able to have those employees taking responsibility and seeing, like you're talking about, giving somebody that third party validation where they're going, I'm solving problems. I understand the solution here. I understand that my boss trusts me enough to allow me to take the risk. If there's a problem, okay, cool. I'm not going to get fired over it. He trusts that I'm making the best decisions. And is that something you help with companies as far as when you're training the companies on helping the employees network?
When I was in the Air Force, um, my CO was outstanding. He said, "You have to make a decision, right or wrong. You have to make a decision because when you don't make a decision, it can cost lives or whatever. But then if you're wrong, we're on your side and we'll back you up. And if you're right, you're right." But that taught me a very important lesson. Always use a tissue. Um, it taught me a very important lesson, and that is you have to give your employees a feeling of a net worth. They have to feel like they're a part of. When they feel like they're a part of, then you'll get great things. And that's what I teach business owners. You have to let go a little bit, let the people make the mistake. You're going to be behind them. You're going to fix the mistake. You can fix anything. You can fix the mistake, but let them make a decision.
And if you're a business owner right now watching this on Amazon Fire TV, maybe you're watching on the show. If you've got a newer smart TV, pause the show, pause this episode, scroll down, click the link, and grab a copy of Michael's book. This Networking Unleashed, I think, is going to be really a helpful thing to not only help you but your employees as well. Just help your business continue to grow. Can you share a story of a specific company or business that specifically benefited from your networking coaching and how?
Well, about 6 months ago, I had done a workshop, and I gave them a little extra. I spoke to the warehouse people, the back office people, the sales people, and they really got a lot out of it. And the workshop was over, and I came home. It was great. And about a month ago, I received an email. They said, "Mike, I just want to tell you that we implemented everything you had said, and our net revenue went up $25,000." So it was a fairly big company, but just the fact that it went up $25,000 was a huge thing. So, and every business is different. That could be one sale for another company,
Yep.
but it just really depends. But usually for the smaller businesses, if they do it, they're going to get more clients, however much that is.
Now, I'm not sure if you want to share what you would charge a company for a service like this, but even if a company had paid you $25,000 for that networking event, the training that you've done there, if they paid you $25,000 and their profitability went up by 25,000, that does not mean they broke even on that, because that knowledge will continue to compound. So, is that something you want to share? Is pricing based on size and depth of training, or?
Right. No, no. I have a sliding scale because the major companies that can afford it, I charge. A nonprofit, which they still have plenty of money, I charge a bit less. For the educational, like the high schools, the colleges, I charge a little bit less. So it's a sliding scales on really not what they can afford, but how much that they paid
Potential
in the
value?
past. Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense completely. And um, again, like I said, if your fee was $25,000 to get this training, I don't know if that's anywhere in the ballpark or not, but I mean, whatever somebody's paying, if they can gain basically unlimited reusability on this knowledge that they just got, that just compounds. When you get you get an employee who is a better networker, better communicator, your profits, your just everything continues to compound as people get better. So it's like, what's the saying? Rising tide raises all ships.
yeah, right, right.
What common networking mistakes do professionals often make, and how can they avoid them?
Well, it's very simple. The mistake is that they don't try it. They don't go out. They're like, no, I don't want to go out. It's too much. It's this, it's that. You know, Listen, go out and try it. Try it small. Try a chamber of commerce. Do an after hours event. A small meeting like that. and get used to the fact of giving your pitch, you're refining what you can do. And pretty soon you're going to feel good enough, confident enough, where you'll go to bigger and better things. So the first networking event you go to, it'll be all right. It's not going to be really bad. First networking event you go to isn't going to go well. It's not, okay? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But the second or third or fourth time, it really will get better and better and better every time. So, you know what? If you're going to go out and try this networking thing, you're going to be amazed at the opportunities that will present themselves to you, because you would never have known about these unless you went out to the networking events.
Now, there's a difference between somebody being introverted, where they just don't like people, versus somebody that feels like they have a lack of value or credibility. So, I mean, if I had employees that just hated people, I probably need to get rid of that employee. But for somebody who is trying, who knows they're introverted and they're trying to get over that, do you have any tips for them as far as things that they could implement today?
Yeah, first of all, you're right. Those introverted people that don't like people, get rid of them, because they don't belong. Even in sales, when they're the face of your company, if they're doing something different, they're just a miserable person. You have to get rid of it. You have to get rid of that. You have to keep your company happy, you know? Um, but where was I going with this? But the other thing is, if you're an introvert, just go out and do it and try it. And you have to, first of all, learn how to be confident. That's a big thing, because you have to learn to be confident. Go to a mirror and look at yourself in the mirror. Look at how you're standing. Look at eye contact. And people say, when I was doing my last talk, I was talking about hands. And what should you do with your hands while you're talking? And on my slide, I have middle steeple, right? And I said, "Oh, is that where you should keep your hands?" I said, "No, it's totally wrong. You talk with your hands. Talk with your hands." And why do you have it on the slide? Because I don't want to forget it. That's why. So it's really good. That's how you should do it.
That's powerful. And now, if you've got we talked a little bit before this interview got kicked off here, but you've got some phenomenal advice on follow up after the networking. Can you give me some tips on, or give our listeners some tips on follow up that is really powerful? You had an example that you shared earlier that was really cool about the guy with the 2-day wait.
Yeah. Well, last no, not the last, a couple of networking events ago, I asked a guy who was there, how do you follow up? And he said, well, I'll send an email tomorrow, and I'll send an email next week and see if they're interested. And I'm like, okay, that's good. You do you, because if it comes down to me, I'm going to win, because I'm going to take every business card that I received, and it's only about 15 or 20 business cards. Write down the date, the name of the event, and something we spoke about. So when I do my follow up that evening, I write a thank you. Hey, Curtis, this is Michael. I had a great time tonight. Thank you for spending some time with me. Hope you enjoy it, Mike. That's all. Nothing else. No business, no anything else. The next morning, I write a handwritten thank you note. Handwritten. And that goes such a long way. You have no idea. But I write the same thing. I always put the same thing in all my emails and this thank you note: the date, the name of the function, and something you spoke about. I do that because it will just keep me top of mind. Like, oh, yeah, that's him. I remember him, you know. And, the next, after about 3 days, once I send that card out and that person receives it, imagine being the person who receives a thank you note. It's such a big thing. But let's say you still haven't answered me. I write you an email saying, hey, Curtis, this is Michael. I saw you on such and such day at such and such event. We talked about XYZ. Tuesday and Wednesday of next week seem to be free. Are you available either one of those days, Mike? I send it off. About 3 days later, if you still haven't responded to me, you're a bad, bad person. All right, if you still haven't responded to me, I say, hey, Michael, I met you on such and such date, such an event. We spoke about XYZ. Listen, I told you Tuesday and Wednesday were open. Tuesday seems to be kind of closing up. How's Wednesday? And I send that email. 3 days later, if you still haven't responded to me, bad, bad person. You still haven't responded to me? Hey, Curtis, this is Michael. I met you at such date with such event. We spoke about XYZ. Listen, Tuesday and Wednesday seem to be closing up. If you would like to have some lunch with me or have a coffee with me, just give me a call, Michael. So if I did receive a response, positive or negative, that's what I'm looking for. I would deal with that. If you still haven't responded, I put you into my CRM. I put your information in. I put all the times that I contacted you and how I contacted you, so I remember, and I put you onto a drip campaign. And so I raised you from a 2% return rate to about a 70% return rate. And guys in corporate America would kill for a 70% return rate.
2% is high on email open rates, on actual conversion there.
It's actually 1.5%.
Yeah,
it's actually 1.5%.
Yeah, yep. You'd be doing a great job with your email marketing if you're hitting a 2% open rate or conversion rate there.
That's right.
Speaking about the handwritten things, I've had a couple of over the years. I've done in 90 days. I did 183 guest appearances on podcasts, just as an experiment for Newswire magazine, seeing what kind of conversion you get by being a guest on these different shows. And out of 183 shows, one podcast host looked up my address. I mean, he didn't. I'm not sure if he Googled me or whatever, but sent me a little gift and handwritten note. He'd done this laser wood burner, just a chunk of log, like maybe a cup holder, that I was going, man, that guy will remember Eric Ellen forever. And it was not the biggest podcast. It wasn't it was a good conversation, but it was not one where you're like, holy cow, they got some money in this system. Right. But that's the guy that I remember out of all of them. And I did a couple of radio interviews with the same thing, where one of them, KKVO out of Las Vegas. The old host is actually passed away just I think last year, but he sent a real kind handwritten letter after I got back from Las Vegas on his show there, and a picture his secretary took a Polaroid picture and sent me an actual picture of me and him standing in front of the logo there, or in front of the radio station banner. And then K4CO Radio out of Denver did the same thing when I was up there last summer for an interview, and sent me a handwritten letter. But they've done a lot as far as following up on social media, where when I post something, they'll get on, comment, like, share, add some other input. And so when I'm talking about, anytime somebody's asking, well, what radio show should I be featured on? It's K4CO Radio out of Denver, because I was on there a year ago, and they're still following up and connecting and liking pictures of the family and talking about that know, like, and trust thing. They just really built that connection where if I was going to ever advertise on the radio, that's going to be the station I'm advertising with, because they've built that relationship.
Absolutely. The minimum that you should do, your follow-up with social media, is just see where they are in whatever platform that they use. I use LinkedIn. It's mostly professional, but I have a LinkedIn, a Facebook, and Instagram, and I have a YouTube channel. So I cover all of them. And so when, I want to look up Curtis McCoy, I'm going to look on all of them and see where you are, just because I want you to keep me in mind.
That's powerful. Yeah. And just the small effort of going out, like, comment, follow, just leave a relevant comment. People are automatically going, man, that Michael guy, this is the guy that I want to work with on networking and communication. And just by building that friendship there, even if you've not even if you only had a couple connections. Now I'm following you. I'm watching what you're posting. I'm getting value out of that. And even if we never talk again, I still like you because it's like I'm seeing you every day on social media.
This interview is sponsored by Newswire magazine. We celebrate the entrepreneurs and thought leaders shaping the future. Those who don't just adapt, but innovate, who inspire others to think bigger, lead boldly, and create lasting change. Only a select few are featured in Newswire magazine. And for those who earn a place on the cover, the opportunities are unmatched. Your story shared with a global audience, your achievements celebrated on national billboards, reaching millions. Every leader has a story. Every vision deserves a platform. Who will rise to the top? Stay tuned. You're witnessing greatness unfold.
Hey, welcome back to Success, Motivation, and Inspiration. I'm here having a conversation with Michael A. Forman, sharing some incredible tips on networking and how to boost your business profitability, sense of self-worth, even with effective networking. What are the keys? I know you host networking events and courses and stuff. What are the effective components of an effective networking workshop or workshop on communication?
Well, really, a workshop is slightly different than me just going out there and talking. Workshop, I feel, is more hands-on and one-to-one. So if I'm going to do a workshop within a company, I'm going to ask for more questions. I'm going to ask, do you understand? I may even put you on the spot and say, what did I just say? Because the first thing I do is say, okay, who's got their cell phone out? And half of them raise their hand. 3/4 of them raise their hand. Okay, so put those away. You need to be present. You need to really pay attention because that's the only way you're going to get something out of this.
And now with your workshops and courses and your book and all this, is that something that, again, I know you said you work with mortgage, real estate professionals, financial insurance. Is that something that say an auto dealership or a cell phone company could reach out to you and get connected? Is that something you can help them as far as coaching them on effective networking?
Auto dealerships are easy because, first of all, they're huge. They have 100 employees. But the problem is getting all of them together to do a workshop. Okay, so I would have to probably split into 3 or 4 different workshops.
Sunday evening.
Yeah, something like that. And of course, the big car salesman will probably say, I don't need something like that. But it depends on the owner saying, no, you have to go. Um, a cell phone company, the employees are usually a lesser amount of people having to deal with the cell phones. But still, I've been turned off so many times after I've walked into a store and the person, he was just placating me. Yep, that's what we have. Yep, that's it. Oh no, we don't have it. Oh, they didn't send it to us, so this is your choice. That just happened when we went to redo our cell phones. The next time we went into the very same store, we walked to a different salesperson. He was so syrupy nice, so sweet that, okay, we don't have the colors you have, but if you call this number, you can probably get it and have it shipped directly to you, and it'll save you a whole lot of time. Little things like that, little things to go out of your way. It's like when Macy's sent customers to Gimbals. It's like, well, we didn't have it, so if you just go to Gimbals, they have a better price. And they're like, what? It's the same concept. That's what you have to do.
And that goes along with loving people and really wanting to help whether or not you're making the sale. I think so many salespeople don't understand the value of providing value, whether or not it benefits your paycheck. Because we've got, I was actually up at a auto shop earlier today. My mom's got a Mercedes she's needing some work done on, and got jerked around by a couple of different shops with trying to charge her, selling her parts that did not even exist on this car. Just crazy junk that was not right. But we went to this Big O Tires over up on North Avenue. I had a recommendation saying there's a guy named Felipe who's just an absolute most honest, great guy to work with. I got up there and I said, okay, she needs some kind of a press in, some kind of part that they didn't have the machine to do. And so he called around, got online, and this is just he's not a sales manager, he's just a guy working at the tire shop there, but called around. He said, hey, we could actually do this. We would typically subcontract it out to this other shop, and we're going to charge you a markup, plus you got to have the car hauled back and forth, and it's going to take you a lot longer. But he said, why don't you just call the owner of this other shop here? Here's the guy's name, phone number. They could get you in to do this. And so if that's something where in the future, they lost that sale on getting this part pressed in, some kind of I don't remember what it was, but on a control arm or something. But in the future, when it comes time to have one of my vehicles worked on, I'm going to check the very first time. I'm going to check with this Felipe over at Big O Tire, because the guy was, even though he's talking himself out of a sale, he was sending me over to get the best deal, the best service from my mom's car. So
it's true. It's the same as paying it forward. You know what? You didn't get anything out of this, but when networking event or you network with people, you always look to give, not receive. Okay. So when you walk into that environment, look to give. How can one of the things that I have them say to a person when they're sitting down, after they have them talk about themselves, everything else, and they tell you what they do, say, you know what? I like you. I like how you do business. How can I make you more successful? How can I be a good referral source for you? Usually they're blown away, but they tell you and say, okay. And so on the back of the card, you write referral source, so anytime that two people need something, this person has, do this, mention my name, this event, and you're golden. So if you look to give and not receive, you'll get so much more out of it.
That's powerful. I sure appreciate you for being on the show today, Michael. Do you have a final thought that you could share with our audience, whether this is a business owner listening to this that's trying to get their employees to be better at networking, or somebody's going out on their own trying to figure out, maybe they're an introvert? What's your final tip for our audience here?
Well, if you're an owner, my biggest suggestion is to listen what they have to say. Whether you agree or disagree, okay, listen, I know it's your store. I know it's your company. It's maybe your way or the highway, but you have to listen. Let them tell you what they have. But tell them that if you bring me this problem, bring me a solution. Okay, so that's my biggest thing that I can say. And for an introvert, start with looking in the mirror, be confident, keep your body straight, always, and dress correctly for the event. If you're a woman, don't dress with your blouse open and everything, hoping you're going to get sales that way. Okay, a business suit, be professional. You're a professional. When you go to these events, you're a professional. And you have to make everybody know it. You'll make everybody know it by feeling that confident.
You just shared quite a few powerful tips there. The one of them talking about, I think this is more, you see probably 20 years ago, where you'd see women that would show up at an event trying to, have their blouse unbuttoned and hanging out there in order to make connections. But the only thing that they were doing was sucking up a ton of, every dirtbag that's there looking to cheat on his wife is going to go over there and be talking to that lady who maybe she's a great salesperson. She's great at her business, but by presenting herself that way, she's ending up getting connected with people who are not who are not looking to do business. They're there for anything except for business.
That's right.
Whereas she may be leading a good business on her way, where somebody that's a solid, upstanding family man is going to see that woman and go, man, I was looking for the service that she's selling, but there is no way I'm going to be caught dead having a conversation with this lady and have my wife found out that I was talking to this lady dressed like that.
That's right. That's right.
Now, yeah, the way that you present yourself is huge. You mentioned I know this is a going a little bit. You're running out of time here, but you talked about having employees stand up and smile, and the benefit of people physically showing the appreciation, or
Yeah.
just
Well, you know
when you
what?
answer the phone, stand up smiling.
You're absolutely, you're 100% correct. You know, people can see you smile through the phone. You know, it sounds ridiculous until it happens to you. So you have to look in that mirror, smile when you talk to them, smile, and you'll see that you have a much better conversation. They're much more appreciative. And listen, if you can give them whatever you can, that's great. If you can't, make something happen. Be there for them. You know, say, look, I don't have the information, but I'll get back to you. Is your number this? Your name is this? I will get back with you. And the most important part is you have to go through and get back with them. Everybody likes to say these things to people, but they don't follow through.
Powerful advice. You guys have been listening to Michael A. Forman, author of Networking Unleashed, and also Networking Unleashed courses, and I mean, you get a whole thing surrounding Networking Unleashed. But if you've been listening to this, you got some value out of it, scroll down. Be sure to get connected with Michael. This is going to be a huge change for your business, I think. Thanks for being on the show.
My pleasure. I'm so glad to be here.
Thanks for watching Success, Motivation, and Inspiration. This episode was designed to help you level up. See you next time.